OpiWrites and Ryooo. OpiWrites being the manager or creator of this tournament. Let's see if he can win his own tournament here.
Yeah, second year of the Winter Cup, organized it both years, certainly.
Yep.
And last year, beat yours truly in the quarterfinals and lost in the semifinals. So he's going to be trying to beat his personal best this year,
Yes.
actually make the finals of his own tournament, which he did not quite do last year. Granted, he lost to Crazy Kaylee, who was the eventual champion. So
yeah.
not too much shame in that, certainly, but not too much shame losing here either, because Ryooo also really, really good. In fact, Ryooo, let me see if I can confirm this real quick. I believe perfect so far in this tournament. Yes, 4-0 in the group stages, and then obviously has not lost in the knockout stage. And I think...
Ryooo beating everybody, including Noob, which is not an easy thing to do.
Yes, I cheekily chose him to maybe miss out on the group stage advancement, just sort of a, I have to pick something that's not chalk and to see what happens. And boy, has he made me pay for it. He has been absolutely dominant. And Screw, I think you were actually in Opie's group and tied him. He hasn't lost since, of course. He's done nothing but win, but he tied you up front, I think.
Yeah, very strong player. But I mean, obviously we're in the semifinals. All four of these people are very good, but this is going to be definitely a very close and good match, I think.
Yeah, and the two winners of the two matches you're going to see today, everybody, are going to meet in the finals. So we will know in just a couple of hours who the finalists for the second.
And also the other two will meet in the bronze match.
Yes, considerably less exciting. So much so that sometimes in years past in early summer cups, some people didn't bother to play the third place match back when it was just for pride. But there are prizes instead of pride as the years have gone on, and so those matches do tend to happen now. You better believe it. But yeah, exceptional competitors all, and I can't wait to see how it shakes out.
All right, anyway, we'll take a quick look at picks and bans for OpiWrites and Ryooo. OpiWrites. Picks Party in a Box. Exciting. I like boxes.
Boxes are great.
Whoops, that is Ryooo. Yeah. And then Ryooo picked Camera Control, I believe. Yep.
Yeah,
right, there we
makes sense. And Opie is going to try to get Ballroom in there whenever he can.
All right, and we're going to get inevitable Redwoods band coming up here. At the hands of Ryooo, unfortunately.
Sorry, Kletos. I know you like the silly venues. You like the crazy ones.
Yeah, I mean it's called. Whoops, I missed. Call it interesting.
Interesting venues. Fair enough. And by interesting, we mean things blocking your view.
Yes, and then Opie, banned library. That's an interesting. All right. Wait, what now? No, wait, I'm looking at this wrong. Am I? Oh no, I just picked. Did I pick the wrong thing or something wrong here? Oh wait.
I'm not sure, but it would be normal for Opie to ban library. His spy has struggled to even reach countdown on it in other competitive events, and while the sniper is good, it's usually not enough.
All right, yes. Yes, okay, yeah, I am reading this right. All right.
Okay.
So yeah, there we go. That makes sense. I was slightly confused for a second. All right. Anyway,
it's a more confusing pick ban system than we've previously had. It's a little experimental, as you guys can see, where you pick a group of venues and then ban from that. And I actually think, as confusing as it might be up front, it actually produces some pretty interesting strategy. And I hope other tournament organizers copy it.
Always ban Redwoods, apparently.
Always ban Redwoods.
All right. Anyway, we'll get into it here. We got some. I see Seagull Papa Danger on Terrace here.
That's what I got.
Should Terrace be first? Party in the Box has Modern as first?
I don't know if it matters what order they play him in. This is the order that they played him in.
Yeah. Whether it's legitimate or not, it's canon now.
Yeah.
Got it.
All right. Anyway, one of you can be the official counter downer.
Oh sure, I'll be the official counter downer, and it's going to be, as you said, Opie as the spy on Terrace, as Kane, in 3, 2, 1, planet. And Ryooo immediately zooming in on the ambassador at bar with two people in bugging position, most worried about missing an early bug. But in the meantime, Opie's doing the more traditional thing of just getting a flirt in. It's going to be a green test, but from a distance, so 32%. Green test for 32%. I don't get to say that very often. Second target walks away. That's going to help a little bit.
And Opie in a decent bugging position once he drops this drink. That's kind of I think one of the go-to spots on this venue to try and get a reverse drive-by bug is on kind of that that corner of that back conversation circle.
Amba, not walking the way we'd hope, but you're right. There's that little corridor between the two where those reverse drive-bys can be very hidden, especially with this particular character in that dark suit he wears. We're going to walk right by the Amba. Very close, but not going to bug, certainly. Probably would have been caught anyway. And you might even get a little credit for being near the ambo without making a bug attempt. We are going to join the same conversation as the double agent. Well, I will remind you, the sniper knows who the double agent is on Terrace. It's one of the weird quirks of this venue, and it means you usually get 2 banana breads in each game, 1 fake, 1 real, to maximize the number of people who could have contacted. We're going to get another flirt. This time it's a more traditional green, and it's going to bump us up to 83%. That means any flirt from any distance will complete the mission at some point later, and there's still about 2 minutes left. Pretty standard, boring opening from Terrace.
Yeah, we can see Ryooo just guarding the ambassador. He's just watching that corridor, making sure that no one is going for that bug. I don't expect Opie to go for a bug that obvious. I think he's mostly going to go for something that's either guaranteed to be covered or a reverse drive, but I don't think he's going to do a walking bug on Terrace.
Yeah, if he does, it'll be one probably out of desperation if no AI is complete or gets shot or anything like that. But you could tell Ryooo understands that their most likely route of losing this game is missing a bug, and they are determined not to lose that way. And if AI is complete some other way, so be it. And if Opie completes some other way, so be it. But yeah, all in on not missing that bug, devoting most of their attention to it. And Opie has not attempted to bug, and it's a good thing for them. We're going to go next to our seduction target again, even though we don't have to. We're going to wait a reasonable spy-like interval of probably 7 to 10 seconds, like we normally do before finishing this flirt. There it is. Seduction is done. We can contact whenever Wheels here gets back into a conversation. He's leaving statues right now. He's in the other conversation. The ST has left, so we'll be chasing our ST unnecessarily again if we want to get the reel in. I think we have to fake here, though. If Boots enters the other conversation, she does. Opie, for a moment there, was the only person outside, would rather get the reel, gets it in. Everybody is in conversation. All but 4 people could have, 5 rather, could have a reel as well. And Ryooo is highlighting accordingly that his 2 missions done, 50 seconds left. What's it going to be? There's no fingerprints. Doesn't look like there's anybody particularly frameable. No one's been to bar in a little while. Is it going to be that desperate bug that we talked about?
And we previously were was seeing Ryooo use his highlights for bar, and he's now switched it to real BB and suspect.
Yep, and there's been another BB in the interim. As I mentioned, there was a fake there just to maximize the number of people who've gotten a banana bread done, but no shot has come off within about 10 seconds, so that means Opie knows they're going to have to finish.
I think that's a second fingerprint for Seek at the bar.
And Ryoo's looking at it, but doesn't seem that interested. I don't think he's buying it. Either he's not tracking fingerprints, or he doesn't think it's Seek. Whatever it is, Opie knows if no shot has come off, you have no choice but to time ad or crash bug. It's going to be the crash bug. Ryooo is literally waiting for it. Completely waits out Opie there. If you're right about the second fingerprint on Seek, that's either a significant oversight that happened to help him, or a very impressive bit of restraint.
Yeah, he does have briefcase. I'm checking in the replay. Yeah, that looks like 2 fingerprints for Seek and I believe a real BB. I'm surprised he didn't get shot.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, very interesting. Ryooo certainly very focused on the bug, stared at it all game as Opie eschewed it, and it paid off because he did indeed bug in the end because he had no choice.
Yeah,
1-0
just as you
Ryooo.
said.
Yep, there we go. 1-0 Ryooo. Chance to go up big here early on Terrace as, well, the previous game's ambassador, Cowboy. In 3, 2, 1, playing it. And we've got inspect and swap off here, pretty standard. Sometimes you leave inspect on, maybe you turn purloin off, but generally speaking, this is what happens, and almost nobody leaves swap on. Ryooo stares out at the window, finishes their drink. Where they go first will tell us a little something about how they plan to go with this game. And what do you know? It's the standard, right next to that seduction target. Previous game spy, as a matter of fact. These two met at the end of the previous game as ambassador and spy. Now they're meeting as spy and seduction target. There's 32%, the exact same percentage that Opie started off with, but this one's a white rather than a green.
Yep, pretty standard play so far to open up Terrace. There's not too many options you can go with unless something lucky happens.
Yeah, and the ambassador has put their grubby little hands on a statue. We're going to be keeping an eye on that and see who picks up that fingerprint. If it's the spy, if it's an AI, Ryoo's going to notice one way or the other, I would think, and Opie probably will too. And Opie is indeed using highlights to track bar visitors. Ryooo, not one of them, however.
And we've got Bling Twin, I believe, that took that first briefcase, and then Sorry taking the difficult.
Yep, and that one on the far left statue, the Venus is still sitting there, and the ambassador decides to give a little company. Both statues on that far left side are going to have a fingerprint after this. And with 2 minutes left, that means there's a decent chance that an AI might complete or at least become a major suspect. Sorry goes to bar and leaves. It also becomes a highlight. We have a lot of bar highlights out here. It actually might be pretty viable to try to frame one of them.
Banana bread.
There's a fake. That's going to knock out Teal and nobody else. The party is roughly split in half between the two conversations. Another BB will probably be coming unless we're going to be all in on a frame. And that's going to muck up Opie maybe just a little bit because you obviously want to be able to use your highlights for real BB, and that's been the switch here. So
Yep, he did switch. This would
he
be a
did-
great opportunity for Ryooo, especially knowing that he did the exact same move, to now go for the Purloin, because it's going to be a little bit more muddied up.
That's right. It's really hard to resist there switching those highlights. It might be good, but if you don't have a good memory, or at least a very good memory in this case, because there were 4 or 5 bar highlights when that BB went off, it could be very hard to shoot with any confidence. You might just narrow it down, and narrowing it down without shooting is not going to be enough on Terrace. We're going to go to this bar now, and this is a pretty big moment right here. Are we trying to frame someone? Nope, we're going to delegate it. Okay. And Sari's going to pick up a briefcase again. Ryooo, meanwhile, attempts a difficult and fails. That's probably going to change their plans now with 1 minute left. Probably not going to finish that way. Probably going to hope for an AI to get shot. Sari is going to get low-lit for presumably wasting their time with that briefcase. And that's a big one because she had potentially at least half a fingerprint before, half being, of course, the difficult, which you may or may not want to credit. Ryoo's going to join the conversation here, presumably get a real banana bread off. Doesn't want to knock out the people who are out of conversation. Little do they know that General and Sari are both already low-lit.
Banana bread.
We are going to BB because we have no choice. Red dress as well is going to get knocked out, and we're going to delegate to, it looks like, green dress. And there's going to be a big line at bar here. This could really slow things down. She's got to finish her drink first, which means she's going to be, I think she might have gotten there to request just before Twin. That's going to be a big distinction.
I think Twin was actually the one that was delegated to.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Absolutely. So the fact that she had a drink actually means the Purloin is going to happen now instead of right at the end of the game. There'll be no pending. 5, 4. Opie's hesitating. He's looking around. He's going to shoot the person who takes the list. It's going to be Twin, and that is going to make all the difference. 2-0 Ryooo, and you're right. Green dress went to bar, had to finish her drink, and if she hadn't, she would have taken first, and it would have been mission win pending if it even took.
Right.
Wow. Wow.
Surprisingly close on Terrace. It's such a there's not as much to track when you look at some of the bigger venues there, but it looked like Opie struggled there at the end.
Oh man, look at this timeline. Delegating Purloin 105.7, guest list Purloin 05.8. That
Wow.
Purloin would not have taken if Green Dress did not have that drink. And you can forgive Opie for not being quite on it, given that their highlights shifted from bar highlights to real banana bread, and that is basically as long as you can take on a delegate and still have it go through. Wow.
Absolutely. Ryooo definitely got a bit lucky on how active the party was at that point in time after the highlight switch and then the delegate. The party kind of picked up towards the end there, making it harder for Opie to catch that immediately.
Yeah, absolutely, and it would have been even tougher if they hadn't taken some of those lowlights on players like Sari. Would have been, frankly, it was a very active party in general, and Opie did manage to keep it down a little bit, but boy, that's hard to combat. 2-0 Ryooo, just like that. Opie trying not to go out in the semifinals for the second consecutive year. Going to be playing Boots, or Buns if you'd rather, on High Rise in 3, 2, 1, playing it. This is not the standard setup. Fingerprint is off. Purloin is on.
That may be a pick specifically against Ryooo. I feel like Ryooo is pretty heavy on fingerprint, both playing Spy and I think he's very good at tracking it. I think it's something that he pays close attention to and has some strategies in mind on how to get some good fingerprints through as Spy. So it's not surprising that he takes fingerprint off against Ryooo.
Yeah, and if he did, it makes you wonder about that Seek thing. Maybe he had something else on Seek he really didn't like. Anyway, we are going to rudely flirt with our seduction target, leave it immediately, try for a bug, and miss it. And we might be a suspect for it. It's hard to tell, but it did not take regardless. So we're at 34%, and we're next to our seduction target again. Starting to feel like the idea here was going to be a rush, but that bug didn't take, so we'll see if that slows down the Spy at all. It's going to be another white test. We're at 68% with just a minute into the game.
This is actually not a bad banana bread. Yeah, okay. He does go for it. I was gonna say everybody's in except one person on one conversation.
Yep, in that one in particular, but we do knock out Ponytail and Taft, it looks like. Not too bad, and there's someone at the far right statue Kane, who I think actually also, so a few lowlights there, but the conversation with the real DA was the one we were in and was particularly full, and that counts for something too, at least. So we don't have too many suspects left, but they all could have a real. And one of them is obliging by going to center statues. That's Orange Sari right there. Let's see if she goes for more than one cycle. That would be significant potentially. That's one. Yep, 2 cycles. We're getting our flirt done in the meantime. being pretty aggressive about it too. 2 missions done and 2 minutes left. We have a long time to wait for a Purloin or a Bug. Ryooo is shaking their camera on Sniper, does not like that Sorry could be finishing, I don't think. Meanwhile, a white Purloin is happening in the back. We are in mission win countdown. Ryooo does not appear to be looking at the list, has not zoomed in on it at all. Opie's running away, lining up the shot, tries to, reorients himself, doesn't take it in time. He hesitated just a tiny bit to avoid shooting Sorry. And Opie runs out the clock. Whew.
I can't believe that he didn't take I think he had the I just can't believe that.
He did have one opportunity. So what's interesting about that is for the first 6 seconds of the mission win countdown, the first 6 seconds, Ryooo does not seem to notice the Purloin at all. At all. When they finally notice that there's 4 seconds left, that is enough time to choose to shoot someone. Probably not enough time to accurately determine who might have rejected or have any kind of confidence about it, but to at least shoot the person who walked away with the drink out of desperation. They line up the shot, as you can see here in the replay. They line up the shot, don't quite lock onto them as well as they'd hope. They kind of hesitate. They probably think they have a few more seconds. A little worried about shooting that highlight orange Sorry, who's at the blue bookshelf next to us. I think if there's no one else at that bookshelf, I think Opie loses.
Very interesting turn of events. I think he was very suspicious of Sorry too. It looked like the camera was watching Sorry a good bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a little thrown by it. And those extra couple seconds are all the difference. Ryooo, who almost went up 3-0 here in the finals. And a reminder, it's just 7 to win, so that would be huge. Opie gets a desperately needed spy win. Now Ryooo has to try to get that 3rd win this way. On the spy side, playing Duke. In 3, 2, 1, playing it. That is brutal. Fingerprint is turned off again, by the way. We are mirroring the mission setup.
And I expect that we may see kind of some of the scoring shift after we get out of these smaller venues. I noticed when I was personally playing, starting on 2, 3, 5 maps in a row if someone is not as good at those like myself, it can you can see a shift in kind of the flow of the game after you get off of them.
Yeah, so you're saying you can survive an early deficit if those are not your type of venue, because better venues are coming along next.
Subjectively better, but yeah.
Better for the player, let's say, yes.
There you go.
That's absolutely right. You can divide some of these matches right down the middle there, sort of, after those first couple of venues. Anyway, Ryooo is not doing anything. Our seduction target is walking around with a book, staring out the window, reading the book at the window, all those sorts of things. We are next to the ambassador with our hand free. We have a drink in the other hand. We're going to hit a green BB. We're going to knock out 2. Let's see.
Please,
there's
BB
a bug attempt. Oh, and Opie is all over it. That is not good angles on the bug because you can barely see the bug motion, but it doesn't matter if you're that good at catching them.
Yeah, and Opie's all over that. He goes for the banana bread distract. So you throw out the BB, you wait maybe a second or two while he's going for the low lights, and then go for your standing bug. Normally a pretty strong move, but Opie is just absolutely prepared for it.
Absolutely. Yeah, he knows that people love to bug in the wake of those BBs. And there's always a question, do you do it 2 seconds after, 4 seconds, 6, 8? There's all these different windows, and the meta keeps changing, right? Certainly, initially, you would say you bug and do it a couple seconds after while they're getting low lights, but then everybody knows you do that, so then you bump it to 4 seconds, and the meta goes on, and then eventually flips back around. What I find interesting here is that at this angle, we are back-to-back, it looks like at least, ignoring depth perception from the sniper's perspective, with Leopard in the background, but you can see the elbow bugging out. It shows on the yellow shirt of Leopard. That's where you can see it. It's not very visible because otherwise you're all wearing black there. That's all it takes. Sorry, the blonde one did not have your back. Opie brings it right back. 2-2 after falling behind 0-2 on Terrace. But those 3-5 venues are done with, at least for the time being. It's going to be Gallery now. Opie's going to be spying as Wheels, one of the least chosen characters in competitive play, as a matter of fact, along with White Dress.
Yep, that's
Ready
right.
in 3, 2, 1, playing it. You can make a better argument for Wheels here in particular. Lower stature for Purloin sometimes in the back conversation, and at microfilm. We're going to get early flirt done again. Go ahead.
Great spot where Sorry is currently to get the green microfilm, and Wheels and Smallman obviously particularly good at it because of their low height. You can kind of hide behind everyone. But I think both of these players are going to suspect anyone that goes to that spot. I personally have been doing highlights if they go to that spot on the green bookshelf.
Makes sense. Opie aggressively flirting again. And we're trying to hide behind this conversation. It looks like we're lining up a Purloin. Our feet are sticking out, and Ryooo is staring at them. Oh, this is not going to work. I don't know if it could have worked. The Geslin's been purloined. Ryooo sees it, lines up the shot. We try a little bit of tech. but the feet are peeking out from behind the curtain.
That is too funny.
Too funny. Oh my god. That's a little Wizard of Ozzy there, sort of. Yeah. No, I see you behind the curtain there. Don't try to fool me. There it is. The feet are sticking out. Should have shot him in the foot, if you
You are
ask
not
me.
small
I
man.
agree.
You are not Smallman. You're not Smallman. You could see Smallman there. Smallman surprisingly completely visible while this is happening, by the way. Noteworthy in its own right. I admire the tech, but I think at that point you have to guard against slightly different sniper angles. Although in this case, the entire ankle, I think, was out. So not especially close. Well, that's quick. Ryooo gets a nice, relaxing sniper game on Gallery. Never thought I'd say those words. And now gets to play as Seek up 3-2. In 3, 2, 1, playing it. I think this game, I'm going to take the over on 30 seconds this time.
I liked the lean from Ryu too. It reminded me of a dog kind of tilting their head.
Did I? What?
What is
Really?
that?
Are you sure? Oh man. Okay. Ryu is waiting for the seduction target to finish with these statues. We talk a lot about how hard it is to get flirt done on Gallery, and it's even harder when your seduction target takes an interest in the arts. We're going to go into this conversation instead and idle and see where they end up. See if maybe the double agent joins or a purloin opportunity presents itself. Although our back is immediately to the sniper, double agent does join. We reject the drink from the waiter. The seduction target is walking around, and they are going straight back to Blue Bookshelf. Let's see if we follow, because there's not a whole lot else to do. It's an okay time for banana bread. And apparently Ryooo agrees, takes the contact. That's going to be 3 lowlights. 4. One of them is the spy. Oh boy. Any number of lowlights are just fine when you are among them. The split, and it wasn't even much of a split, but it works. Ryooo is lowlit.
Yep, Ryu rewarded with the banana split, and Opie misses the low light on green dress there, which I didn't like the banana bread for that reason. She had an early inspect, which leaves her as a potential frame target later in the game.
Yeah, that's the upshot of your seduction target being busy, is that they're usually busy doing missions and could be a frame target, as you say. But that pillar from the gallery front door was mostly blocking her, even though Ryooo was more visible. Kind of just faded into the crowd, and now they're going to fade into everything because you can barely see them at all. And Ryooo, this is the big thing, whether they know they're low lit or not, and they might realize it's plausible, they look like they want to finish. They're going to swap. Yes, they might sense it, and the second the swap goes off, Duke gets shot instead. Wow. I'm not sure how much the low light had to do with that, but this game was actually not that much longer than the previous one, but the result is the same, a Ryooo victory. We have played 3 venues, and all 3 have been swept. But Ryooo has swept 2 of them, and they're up 4-2.
And I want to point out real quick that Duke there went statue to statue. So first inspecting the back ones, then goes to the front, and then Ryooo likely recognizes that and then frame swaps him after. So that would give Duke BB, inspect, and swap. So kind of, I'm not surprised by the shot.
And he was picking up a briefcase. So.
And picking up a briefcase, just doing all the spy things in the world, and you're probably not going to suspect that low light of the swap either, even though the fade was technically on screen. But if you've already discounted them,
there was no fingerprint on that briefcase. But who knew?
Yeah.
Who tracks that?
Not me. He says stupidly. So it's going to be 4-2 Ryooo, and that's a pretty significant lead too at this point, because you only need 7 to win. Opie, in the semifinals, trying to survive. They did not last year. It's going to be the same spy as the person who was just shot, as a matter of fact. Opie says, I hope this one ends up a little differently. Going to play Duke on Veranda, of all places, in 3, 2, 1, playing it. A lot of characters factoring heavily into one game and then immediately into the next in a different role.
Yeah, I had been talking with Dowsey, and I wanted to measure. I felt like, you know how the game can auto picks who's going to be spy once the round ends. I felt like I noticed it auto picking the person that was shot.
I think I went next. I went double next. I think I'm not sure what happened here, but I'm on the.
Oh yeah, you are double.
I'm on the next game over. Let's pretend that you didn't say anything.
That's fine. Let's start back over.
I don't know how that happened. I think I was going next on my replay thing, and it went on that. That's fine.
That's okay. Well, now you know that both spies on Veranda are going to be royalty of some kind, but you don't know a whole lot else.
Yeah. All right. Anyway,
it's going to be.
I believe I am ready.
It's going to be Duke on Veranda in 3, 2, 1, playing it. With my incredible powers of prediction, I'm going to say green timeout at this window. Yes. Yes, how did I know that? And we're going to bail pretty much immediately. And Ryooo couldn't even notice that, but you know what? There's a lot going on in the early seconds of Veranda, so probably not, let's say. Probably a pretty safe thing to get away with. And we have almost 5 minutes to use now. The question is, how are we going to use them? There are several highlights already from early statue visits. It's going to be Queen, it's going to be General, it's going to be Salmon already, along with the Ambassador's highlight just because. So Opie hasn't done anything other than let the party accumulate suspects, and here comes another one in Buns. Oh boy, these statue highlights can really hurt you on Veranda when the party is busy. There's Ponytail as well. Leopard on another one. Look at these highlights amassing. And with a timeout.
And we go for an immediate direct transfer. We pull it right out of green, walk right over to red.
Right over to red, and you know what? We're not really sticking out with all these glowing party goers around us. And Ryooo, by the way, this time, not watching Bug as closely, but was zooming in on that drink take from Red Dress. Microfilm is done. Here comes the banana bread. That's actually not going to knock out too many, but there will be at least 2 highlights. Let's see here. Do we get them both? Do we get Queen, one of the early statue visitors? We haven't yet. That is not a very
Only
good
2.
reaction. Only 2 on Veranda, and with all these highlights, Ryooo is way behind right now. Opie, they might not know it, but they're in great position. There's our first flirt, though, 34%. The Ambassador is right next to us. You got to imagine we could be bugging here, and it's going to be one of those bugs where you can credit it but probably not catch it if you do it well. Ryooo is watching the general area, especially now with Toby coming over and offering drinks to highlights. Got to pay attention to that, but we have roughly 2.5 missions done. There are a lot of highlights still, and we are not one of them. Here comes the drink offer. Are we going to take it? Ryoo's rotating, might be baiting it out a little bit. At least that's what Opie might think. And that is exactly what they think. It's going to be a green purloin. We're going to stay put. We're next to General, who already has a drink. We're going to leave here before it gets taken. It is now being offered to White Dress, who also, we have a bit of a reject chain. There's a bug attempt while we crash with the Ambassador. Not visible. Also does not take. The purloin is still pending. Who's going to take the list? It's going to be White Dress. The fade is actually surprisingly clear on screen, I think. Ryooo got a little lucky with the angle there. So the purloin is done. Here come the lowlights. How many of them are going to be correct? Will the spy get low lit again? Hasn't happened yet, and only gets a few lowlights from it. This party is spiraling out of control with 3.5 missions done.
He's getting a lot of lowlights based off of that purloin, which is helping him kind of claw back at the suspect list. And Duke looking pretty active. He went from this position all the way out to the other side of the venue, missed a bug, which I think Ryooo kind of noticed, back to the same spot with the ST there.
Yeah, there were a few lowlights in the wake of the purloin, and then a hesitation, as if to say, well, this isn't enough, so maybe I need to take lowlights I'm not as sure about, because otherwise I'm going to lose control of this party. That's exactly what they do, and lucky for them, none of them are the spy. They have actually accurately narrowed it down. I think there was a gut check moment, basically saying, if I don't take lowlights I'm a little less comfortable with, I'm not going to win this game. 2 hardtails are done. Seduce is almost finished after that green test, by the way. General has walked all the way to the other end of the venue, but we have almost 2 minutes left. We could seduce and do anything else afterwards. We are heading towards the Amba. The Amba is heading towards us. 2 ships passing in the night. They never quite meet. We're not going to collide with them this time. We are going to go and waste a little time in this conversation to see where General ends up, I think, so we can seduce and take the last minute to do our final mission, whatever it is. This party, however, has been impressively narrowed down after that purloin. 1 mission as one of just several suspects left. Can they do it?
He's going to be hard-pressed to get a 5th mission through, I think. Especially,
point, yeah.
he doesn't have a fingerprint, so he would have to get 2, so that's likely out of the question. Maybe a swap, but there's so few suspects. And then double inspect is pretty rough too. He's got to, I think, get lucky with the bug to get the 5th mission.
I think you're right. We've already done the kind of hardtails you would do desperately at the end of the game. The purloin is already done. The cheese microfilm is already done. We timed them both quite well, I think. But that second round of purloin lowlights, we're headed into statues. This is almost certainly going to be a seduce and swap for the win. The Amba is on the other side of the venue, and Toby is too, but Toby doesn't matter anymore, so that's not going to split the attention as much as we'd think. 7 seconds left. Breaks the animation to put it down. Mistimes the laser rotation, and Ryooo doesn't even need to see the statue. They know that's the spy.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the slam there. I mean, I think I know why he's trying to slam it and get out of there before being seen in that direction at all, but I don't know if it's worth the risk. So late in the game, you've got to realize the sniper has very few highlights and probably a lot of lowlights, so it's going to be noticed.
Yep, the slam happens with 7 seconds left on the countdown, and they were going to have to rotate all the way around to confirm that. There's a decent chance it would have worked if they'd body blocked just a little bit longer, at least forced Ryooo to take a very difficult shot in the waning seconds, and given how they reacted to that purloin, it's entirely possible they would have been too cautious on that final mission. So Opie surges out to what you have to call a lead early in that game, and then ends up in trouble at the end because of all those lowlights off the purloin, granted not right away. But in the end, Ryooo gets the win, one that Opie probably needed. Now up 5-2, spying for a potentially dominant lead as the previously seen queen. Whenever you guys are ready, in 3, 2, 1, planet. That is a big win. That is, so far, I
It's a
think, the
good
most
recovery
important
by
game.
Ryooo. Very good
Yeah,
recovery.
it is. It is. You're right. And that game was just falling out of control. And I think Ryooo probably made some difficult decisions, some aggressive choices with those low lights to bring that game back and give them their best chance of winning. And then they catch that animation break at the end. Definitely good, as you put it, good recovery.
You'll see that from an experienced sniper. If you feel that you're behind and you've seen that some hardtails have gone through and you don't have enough lowlights, you go, okay, I'm going to take a little bit more risky lowlights because I need to make this comeback, which is exactly what Ryooo did, and it worked out perfectly.
Exactly right. Sometimes sensing that you haven't caught things, sensing that you're behind, it's definitely a sixth sense and a bit of a skill, certainly, to have that humility to know you're losing the game and know you have to play differently than you normally would to maximize your chances of winning. And in this case, it just might help propel Ryooo to the finals.
Another thing to look out for on Veranda is, as Spy, if you've got Toby and the Ambassador on one side of that kind of U shape, you'll usually try to go for some kind of hardtail or something risky on the other side, like Opie attempted, but definitely look out for that as Ryooo is playing and see where he's looking, because you should see him trying to pay attention to where the Amba and Toby are.
That is a real BB. All three SDAs, DAs and SDAs, I think were in conversation. One was moving just slightly, but entered right afterwards. So I don't think we're going to be able to assume real or anything like that. We're also not going to get too many lowlights out of this. Once again, not getting enough from the Banana Bread like the previous game on Veranda of all places where you really need to get several high-quality lowlights to stay ahead of the curve. Ryooo has purloined in the interim, by the way, and gets low-lit because they are not suspected for the purloin. They got out of there quick enough. It was BB into purloin. The seduce is done. Inspect is partially done. Ryooo has been low-lit again.
And we'll see if Opie can do the same thing that Ryooo did. At this point, Opie may realize that I think he's a little bit behind 220, and Ryooo is about to get his fourth mission complete, potentially fifth if he goes for the swap.
Yeah, he's going to have to notice the exact same thing sort of as Ryooo, but in this case, he's low-lit the spy. That's a lot trickier. We're going to go, and I think we're just going to inspect swap here. Ryooo might have felt that low light. With that kind of purloin, you are sort of fishing for it. We're going to put it back down. We're not going to swap. We're going to go to the adjacent statue and swap instead. This might give Opie a little time to recover because the guest list, even though it's gone, and the Ambar on the other side, 8 seconds, 7 seconds, 6 seconds. We're looping back around. Sees the swap, brings the low light back up to highlight. Oh, freaks out with his camera and takes the shot with just a couple seconds left. Wow, I think a swap on that first statue would have gotten the job done given the Amba being on the other side. But I think Ryooo maybe overthinks it just a little bit, goes to the other statue, and look at that shot with just a couple seconds left. Huge, important win for Opie.
I think we see Opie freak out a little bit because I think his camera flicked down.
It did.
Flicked his mouse down.
And you know what? That's actually a very hard shot to take because obviously the moment you realize your low light might have been wrong and the moment you shoot are just a couple of seconds apart. And that's a very difficult thing to reevaluate. But I think they probably had a sense that the low lights were not high quality low lights off the purloin and they're willing to reconsider just in time.
And of course, Opie had to bring him back up to a highlight, pretend like he was highlight the whole time. Like, yeah, right. I got you this whole time.
Yeah.
We definitely were never low lit.
I like to think that was sort of click, click, highlight. Oh, I definitely highlight him as a potential swapper. Wait a second. This could easily be 5 missions. The purloin is already done. And go ahead and shoot. Whatever it is, that keeps Opie alive here. Wouldn't technically have lost if he'd been down 6-2, but you'd be looking at overtime at best, and you don't want that at all. Instead, it's 5-3 heading into Opie's favorite venue. That's Ballroom. And going to be spying here. Duke again. Hello. In 3, 2, 1, playing it. Opie really wants to sweep here. They really need a sweep.
Opie saying in chat that the flick was because he pressed control instead of shift to take safety off.
Oh no. They are right next to each other. Anyway, early flirt here. White test. Our seduction target is leopard, 33%. And this is an underrated purloin spot, if you ask me, especially when that conversation across from you is. We'll see if the opportunity presents itself at any point, but the party's a little too spread out right now. You want more people in this conversation, more people in the conversation across from you. But when 2 or 3 people are in a conversation like that, it doesn't take much for a couple more to join. Suddenly they're all full, and then you can take some chances, potentially. Instead, we're just going to wait and timer flirt and see how the party develops. We are offered a drink.
I think waiting a little bit longer so that Boots and Irish are possible suspects in it because they had just been to middle statues and not really joined any conversations. I think that may be something that Opie is looking for. He wants to keep some of those high value suspects a part of
Yep.
the chain.
One thing you can do while you're timer flirting is just watch the party. You
Yep.
don't have to waste that time. In fact, that's one of the reasons timer flirting is so useful, I think, is that it allows you to just observe the same way the sniper's going to, get you on the same page. Green test after the timer flirt brings us up to 84%. Any flirt will finish. And there's that purloin I mentioned. There's a bit of a log jam in that little corridor between those conversation circles. Ryooo is zooming in and out. It's a green test. Will the next offer take? They will. It's Queen. The fate is not on screen. Ryooo has not looked yet. Has not
And,
looked yet.
and Toby turns away right at the perfect moment for Opie. Opie also had a very quick green reject. It was offered and he hit that green very quickly.
So that's the thing. If you're not seen, you're in great shape. But if that quick reject is seen, you're actually the top suspect. Another drink taker since, and that means several people are going to be on this list. The seduction is done as well. I'm still not sure that Ryooo has noticed. I haven't seen any lowlights.
I think, well, Ryu highlight Queen right after she took it. I think he noticed.
Okay, well, if he did catch it, that's significant because 2 more people took a drink afterwards without a zoom in, and if they're part of that list of suspects, that'd be a big, big problem. We're going to be offered a drink again. Is Opie going to take a drink after the purloin? Yes, that is, well, it's an AI move or a spy move, depending on how you think about it. But there's a fingerprint on it, which is going to get us a little more heat if we were indeed noticed. Walt is walking around with that drink still. Queen has not moved. Opie hasn't moved in, let me think. 2 minutes, I think. We've gotten our entire flirt done, a purloin, and a fingerprint. Just let the party come to us. We don't have to do anything but stand here and do missions.
I think Ryu may suspect that it was a green purloin. He just doesn't know who rejected it prior to Queen.
And if he doesn't, that's a big problem. You're going to have to try to infer this, and that's going to be very difficult. We are sipping this drink. We are just waiting. There's no reason to wait here anymore. I think we're kind of just hoping that someone gets shot for that purloin. Queen has come next to us. I don't know if that's going to provide us with any opportunities. There's no reason here. Obviously, Opie would love to get another fingerprint and get a real contact here. Would probably like to avoid statues or bug if they can help it. General with a lot of great bouncing. I'm not sure if we're going to get low lit for that, but we could. We're offered a drink again. Oh, Ryoo's shaking their camera around. They do not like this. Opie is going to go for another fingerprint and going to get a highlight for it. It's going to try to BB inside the conversation, but it's a white. The plan was definitely for a green. Ryooo knows you can't do that. Gets shot just like that. I don't think they were much of a suspect for the purloin, and I think a green BB might have worked, but it's a white, and that's the difference.
Yeah, that's a great play to grab briefcase and then drop a green banana bread, which gives you reason to do a banana split and kind of have an alibi for it. So it's a great move when it works, and when it doesn't work and they're watching you, just like we saw, you're dead for it.
Yeah, I think the green might have worked there, or at least given Ryooo pause, given that frustrated shake they took earlier. I don't think they had too many suspects. On the other hand, when you don't have a good suspect and someone does a lot of busy stuff at the end of a ballroom game, sometimes that's enough to take that desperate shot when you know you're behind, like you mentioned earlier. Interesting move, but doesn't hit the action test, and Ryooo, 6, has forced at least overtime.
I get a feeling that, because Opie wasn't quite in the conversation when he picked up that briefcase, so he had to kind of twitch in. I think Ryooo saw that.
Yeah,
I feel like he might. I think whatever happened there, Opie was kind of in trouble.
Yeah, you might be right, certainly. And still impressive, though, that the purloin did not result in a shot. Although, if I think we BB'd earlier, I think that would have been the way to go. If you're counting on the Civ shot, you're going to get a good BB earlier, combined with the purloin. Maybe you force their hand. Ryooo certainly looked frustrated, but Ryooo has looked out of sorts in 2 different sniper games and won them both. And that's why they're up 6-3 here, playing as General for the win to potentially propel them into the finals in 3, 2, 1. Playing it. Opie needs 3 in a row to force overtime to avoid getting knocked out in the semifinals of the Winter Cup again.
And I believe General just redirected onto green, grabs the book, leaves fairly quickly. I suspect that this is going to be, yeah, he goes straight over to blue. So he's going
all
for
the way
direct
over.
transfer.
You are right. Yeah, there's no reason to redirect that quick unless you're going to do that microfilm. Ryooo does not get away with it. Opie is all over it. Stays alive a little bit longer. Well, nice quick sniper game. Now we're going to go into Modern, but you would normally think that if you're up heading into Modern, you're going to be just fine because you're probably going to trade sniper wins. No. This is 4 of 8, not 5 of 8 Modern, which means spy wins are very, very plausible. And Opie needs one right now. Right now, let me just tell you, he didn't know he was going to end up in this position, but now that he is, he's certainly glad it's 4 of 8 rather than 5 of 8 because he needs to sweep them both to forced overtime. He's going to be playing as Red Dress now, needing just 4 missions, not 5, in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
I'm interested to see how this venue plays out in particular at this point in the set. I feel like this 4 of 8 Modern, it just has a different style to it from what I've played. I kind of have to readjust how I pace and how I think when I'm playing this 4 of 8.
Case in point, Opie goes to bar immediately, does a quick delegate without taking a drink, then goes to blue bookshelf, dumps it in green, boom, 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 just like that. We have one hardtail done and another one in the chamber ready to go and be delegated to any moment. It looks like we're going for a rush here, which is a gutsy thing to do with your tournament life on the line.
Yeah, good recognition by Opie to see that a lot of the party members are kind of on the front side or the left side of the venue, so there shouldn't be as much focus on that blue and green shelf area.
Yeah, let's see if there's any focus on Lavender. We're going to delegate to the Queen, and she's going to go to that bar, and I think it's going to be quick enough that it might take. We'll see. She's also the seduction target, and we got to flirt in the meantime. If we are not a huge suspect for this purloin and it comes off, we're going to be in great shape. Time is ticking away, though. There were a couple people at bar when we went, and we were at the far conversation there, not the one right next to it. And the timer expires just as the drink comes down in front of the Monarch. It does not take, and you can't really do that again. I think just a little too cute, waited a little too long on that delegate. I think they would have gotten away with it if they'd done it a few seconds sooner.
Yeah, and for those unaware, it is a delegate trick where you can get the delegate option without taking a drink. You do so by clicking delegate and then immediately walking away. There is a tell from Toby, so it's not completely overpowered, but a good move, especially early game if they're not watching for it.
Yeah, it's a hard tell if the sniper knows it and is staring at it, but if they're not, and it's going to be pretty hard to justify that on Modern sometimes, especially in the early seconds, you're going to get away with it just like that, but waited a little too long on that timer. There's a white BB. That's going to knock out quite a few people, several at bar. Let's see here. Yep, teal at the far end of the venue. And suddenly, we're actually kind of in trouble here because that was not a real BB. We have one mission done. We still only have the one flirt. We're going to go out and try to get another one. There's 2 minutes left. We went from a rush to actually a little behind the pace.
Yeah, I would argue for a timeout at this point before it gets too low on the clock time. Maybe try and sneak in a timeout.
We'll see. It's definitely the time to start thinking about that with about 100 seconds left and just the second flirt in here. We're at 78%. Any close flirt will do just fine, and some that even aren't all that close. Double Agent has left our conversation, and Opie really needs to find another mission soon. I don't know if you can afford to timer flirt here anymore, but that seems to be the plan if they don't leave during this idle. They do not. We're already committed to this. We've already killed some of the flirt timer just standing here. And we're committed to waiting for the rest of it, and that's going to leave us with probably just a little under a minute left to do 2 missions without a single fingerprint or an inspect visit to help us.
Yeah, we're in a rough position here if we're OP.
ST leaves. Wish she'd done that earlier. We're going to chase her to windows, I think. We are pretty far away. Is that close enough to flirt? It is not. Instead, it's going to be a green time ad with 57 seconds left on the clock. 140 for the spy, of course. And Queen, I think, the only other person even near windows. We have picked up a highlight now. And yep, look at this. Ryooo is pretty confident. The 2 people at windows are the 2 suspects.
In the end of it.
Wow.
We're going to split. That's going to knock out the other suspect, and Ryooo knows immediately. That's how confident they are. Moving on to the finals. 2 people were at windows. One of them was out for the contact. I think that BB is an unforced error, but probably did not expect that Ryooo was all over that time ad. Ryooo into the finals of the Winter Cup. Opie falls by the exact same score as last year's semifinals, 7-4.
Yeah, great recognition by Ryooo to catch a green time ad on Modern with it's such a big venue, so much going on. You have to look all over the place and catches a green time ad. It was good recognition.
Yeah, now if Queen takes that drink and walks and we try to frame her, I think there's a decent chance that works. But yeah, it all comes down to the spy having a sense of how likely it was that Ryooo was on the time ad. And not only were they on it, they were perfectly on it. They had it narrowed down to 2, didn't even seem to need to think about it once that BB happened, did not reconsider their lowlights. They knew it was one of them. Ryooo, wow, pulled back some difficult sniper games that were falling away. And that's all it takes to propel them into the finals. Ryooo, again, let me remind you, was perfect in the group stages. So has not lost, has not tied, and now has a chance to go perfect in the Winter Cup.